Hello again, my fellow monster lovers. Welcome back once again to Creepy Cheapies with Dr. Lady, where we look for worthwhile, interesting, well-made, good quality, reasonably priced Halloween masks for all your scaring needs. I'm Gwendolspire Bograff, and one of the most famous monsters of all time is, of course, Mr. Hyde from Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The story and the many movie versions. Been a lot of versions of Mr. Hyde over the years. A lot of different actors have played Jekyll and Hyde. And probably the most popular one in terms of the movie and the best interpretation of the story as a movie, I think, is the 1932 version with Frederick March playing both Jekyll and Hyde. Although the most popular masked version has got to be the Mr. Hyde from the 1953 comedy Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. However, tonight's mask, which you're going to look at it and think, oh, I know that mask. That's called Dr. Lady when he sees his monthly electricity bill at Horror Hotel. But no. I know there's a resemblance, but this is in fact a Mr. Hyde mask, an original interpretation based on what little description there is given in the original Robert Louis Stevenson story, Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is an original interpretation of the character, and I think a very worthy one, a very appropriate one. It looks right. It looks like Mr. Hyde might have looked, because it has an ugliness to it, but it's still more or less human. You see that? Now this is from Trick or Treat Studios, designed and sculpted by the incredibly, obscenely talented Justin Mabry. Let me brush his eyebrows up a little bit there, see if I can get him to look more like me. Yeah, he's got a pretty close hairline, I think. We have some resemblance there, don't we? Yeah, sure. Anyway, this is the Justin Mabry Mr. Hyde, and I don't mean by that it's Justin Mabry when he played Mr. Hyde in the big Trick or Treat Studios multi-million-dollar box office extravaganza motion picture. No, I mean the Mr. Hyde mask as designed and sculpted by Justin Mabry. As you can see, it's got a pretty generous neck. It's got fur. This is sheep fur hair, and it does work. Okay, it does actually look right for Mr. Hyde hair. You see. And the eyebrows are also pieces of fur stuck on, acrylic fur. One minor drawback there, if you look really closely at this guy, or any mask that has glued on fun fur or acrylic sheet fur on the face, if you look really closely, you can see those little tiny white specks, which is where you're seeing through the fur to the net backing. So what you could do is very carefully take a Sharpie and just lightly touch those little white dots where you see them on the edges of the eyebrows, and that'll make it completely, realistic. Make it a lot more realistic if you don't notice that. Although I don't know how big a deal that is anyway. I'm just picky about little stuff like that. Maybe you're not. He's got wonderful eyes, super glossy, and they're beautifully painted, and they look really deranged and have this crazy intensity to them that befits the character. And he has a nice, realistically moist-looking mouth area. His teeth and tongue and lips are kind of moist, but not as wet and shiny as his big, crazy, staring eyeballs. And what a great mask, I think. This is a super cool Mr. Hyde. And if you don't want a Mr. Hyde mask and you run a haunted house or something like that, this guy would also be great as, how about a caveman? Imagine this mask with a guy wearing like a leopard fur tunic and carrying a club. Make a great caveman. Also make a great, Wrong Turn, Hills Have Eyes, Texas Chainsaw. One of those movies about mentally deficient, inbred, mutant cannibal hillbillies living out in the sticks. Yeah. He could be one of those type of characters. Imagine him with, dressed like a farmer and carrying some sort of a farm tool. Yeah. He would work for that. But I like him as Mr. Hyde because he looks like a good interpretation to me of Mr. Hyde as originally envisioned by Robert Louis Stevenson. And I've seen this guy sold at different prices. For a while he was around 60 bucks, which is pretty good because again, it's got hair, it's got eyebrows, it's got these fantastically done eyeballs going on, it's the full head and neck and etc. But the last time I checked the Trick or Treat Studios website, and I don't know when you're watching this, you might be watching this 10 years after I recorded it, so I don't know. But the last time I checked, this had been relegated to the status of online exclusive, meaning you could only get it from the website. And the price, last time I checked, don't hold me to this, 30 bucks. Wow, if you can get one of these for 30 bucks, for heaven's sake, yes, buy one. And even for 60, it's a pretty good deal because it's a sweet mask, it's a classic monster, and it's a new interpretation of that monster. So that's all for me, and until next week, you won't see hide nor hair of me. See what I did there? Hide, hair. Okay, we could always cut that.